President Trump started it, and then she upped it. She upped it, and the camo hats and the tax on tips, and now crypto.
So, A, that's not true.
Okay.
B, child poverty was cut in half when the Biden-Harris administration implemented the child tax credit and the Republicans got rid of it. If Tim Walz is as terrible and embarrassing as you guys think he is, why does he have a +7 favorability and J.D. Vance and Trump both have a -13? He doesn't even make any sense when he talks about it. Listen to this quote, talking about his new crypto business, which I'm sure will go bankrupt. But
did he take care of his battalion? I mean, already.
Go ahead.
He stretches with. He's got a problem with the truth.
People do not think that Tim Walz is a bad guy, no matter how many times you call him
a lot of people think.
Liberal Fox News commentator Jessica Tarlov yet again broke the hearts of her 4 MAGA co-hosts with a series of brutal fact checks about the 2024 election, Vice President Kamala Harris and Governor Tim Walz, and in particular got into a heated exchange with co-host Jeanine Pirro, who was very triggered by these facts. But before we unpack all that, if you end up liking this video and you want to support the channel, please be sure to hit the like, subscribe, and alert bells before you go. All right, friends, we have a couple of clips to look at in this video. As you know, Jessica Tarlov has the hardest job in legacy media. She is the one voice of sanity on The Five, which is the highest rated Fox News show. She's going into enemy territory. She's up against a hostile audience. She's outnumbered 4-1. And despite this, she pretty much always wins because the facts are on her side, and she's very, very good at delivering them. So this episode was really no exception. But it was fun to see Jeanine Pirro, one of her MAGA co-hosts, get very triggered by the vice president's, record, I suppose, and Governor Tim Walz's charisma. So let's play this clip and watch the heated back and forth and enjoy it together.
All right, Jessica, why does Kamala always copy Donald Trump? It started with the, the tax on tips, and then the camo hats, and now the child tax credit.
The child tax credit?
Yeah. President Trump started it, and then she upped it. She upped it, and the camo hats and the tax on tips, and now crypto.
So, A, that's not true.
Okay.
B, child poverty was cut in half when the Biden-Harris administration implemented the child tax credit and the Republicans got rid of it.
Before she goes on, this is huge, okay? So the child tax credit was a provision of President Biden's American Rescue Plan. It was an enhanced child tax credit, and it went into effect for, I think, 2 years, effectively, and it cut child poverty in half. Every Republican voted against it. Then when the time came to renew the provision, every Republican in the United States Senate and one Democrat, conservative Democrat Joe Manchin, who will no longer be in the Senate because he's not seeking re-election, did not vote in favor of the enhanced child tax credit. So again, it's by far a bigger staple of the Biden-Harris administration's success. And Donald Trump's Republicans voted against it because they would rather have child poverty doubled effectively than give President Biden and Vice President Harris a political win. So Jessica Tarlov is right to hit them with this brutal fact check.
If Tim Walz is as terrible and embarrassing as you guys think he is, why does he have a +7 favorability and J.D. Vance and Trump both have a -13? And Kamala's at +3. What's going on? What's going on with this loser with the clean air filter, right, that people seem to like?
With a capital L.
The overtures to the crypto community, not only did she raise $27 million on Sunday, but Donald Trump's been all over the place. He was against Bitcoin before he was for it, right? He said it was a threat to the U.S. dollar. Then he was like, oh, well, maybe I could change my mind, get another flip-flop under my belt. He doesn't even make any sense when he talks about it. Listen to this quote, talking about his new crypto business, which I'm sure will go bankrupt. But crypto is one of those things we have to do, whether we like it or not. I have to do it. It's crypto, it's AI, it's some of the things. Does that sound like somebody who knows what they're talking about?
So again, just real quick, so good. She is so sassy right now, and I love it. I love that she's bringing the heat because usually she has infinite patience and gives these people patience that they quite frankly don't deserve. They constantly interrupt and heckle, ask bad faith questions. They get hostile with her. I'm glad she's actually asserting herself and saying, you know what, the facts are on my side. You all are a bunch of hypocrites. Your candidates, or candidates rather, are a bunch of hypocrites. They flip-flop. That's the other thing too. Of course, the 4 of the 5 like to claim that Vice President Harris is a flip-flopper. And certainly she has moved positions compared to where she was in a Democratic primary in 2019 compared to a Democratic general election in 2024. She's had 4 years effectively of co-governing the country along with President Biden. So it makes sense that her positions have changed. Donald Trump flip-flops on positions even now, out of office, every day, right? He famously flip-flopped his position on whether or not he would support a constitutional amendment in Florida to guarantee abortion access. He flipped on it in 24 hours after backlash he received from his evangelical base. So Donald Trump has no credibility on this issue, and neither do Trump supporters. And I like the fact that she refuses to give in to the framing and talks about Donald Trump's infinitely greater history of flip-flopping than the vice president, and also his inability to answer questions directly and coherently. What his question that his answer to a question about crypto that she just read was incomprehensibly stupid, and they can't handle it.
Unburdened by what has been.
Sure, he's coconut pilled then, because that's the kind of stuff that'll end up helping her. Now, there is a gender gap, historic, and there's a gender gap on the other side with women that are going to be voting in droves for Kamala Harris and Tim Walz. But continuing to patronize someone who I'm pretty sure can take care of his car is not an effective strategy. I return to the fact that if you are going to have people going to a voting booth who don't necessarily like either candidate, and one of them has a negative 13 approval rating, and one of them has a +3, that they're probably going to pick the person who has the +3.
You say
Freaking brutal. Absolutely brutal. And again, Jeanine Pirro doesn't like to hear that at all. She really doesn't, nor do the other parts of the five. They can do everything. And as a matter of fact, let me see.
he can take care of his car. Did he take care of his battalion? I mean, already.
Go ahead.
He stretches with, he's got a problem with the truth.
People do not think that Tim Walz is a bad guy, no matter how many times you call him
a lot of people
coach.
think he's got a lot of stolen valor in there and a lot of lies and lock.
Again, she's triggered, but the fact of the matter is the proof is in the pudding and the proof is in the polling. J.D. Vance consistently underpolls compared to Governor Tim Walz. Tim Walz outpolls J.D. Vance and Donald Trump with respect to favorability. Their efforts to make this man unlikable and unpopular have failed. They may succeed later on, but right now she is protesting too much. Jessica Tarlov is right. Our candidates are just objectively more popular than yours. More people like our candidates than yours. And you can still win due to various institutional advantages, due to, this dynastic assessment of the parties. I have no doubt that there are Republican voters out there who may personally like Vice President Harris and Governor Walz more than J.D. Vance and Donald Trump. But those are Republicans and they're Republicans. And damn it, we just got to back them accordingly. But Jessica Tarlov is right. The efforts by Fox, by MAGA, to tar and feather Governor Walz have failed spectacularly. And meanwhile, J.D. Vance continues to plummet in the polls. This is so important to point out. And again, you could just see how triggered they are by this fact. But facts don't care about their feelings. And I think it's really good that Jessica Tarlov is pointing this out. The other thing I'll say is just a reminder that no matter what happens, please remember this. Donald Trump is not, has never been, and never shall be a popular political candidate. Very few people at Fox are willing to admit that. Certainly very few people on the quote unquote, the right, Karl Rove, Brit Hume, they're one of the few who will admit that Donald Trump has never been and never shall be a particularly popular candidate, and that his potential is capped. Now, he has the benefit of having a very fixed base in the sense that come hell or high water, no matter what he does, they are devoted to Donald Trump. They will turn out. Donald Trump quite literally could shoot someone on Fifth Avenue, as he prophesied years ago, and not lose a single vote from that dedicated base. But he's limited. Even after he got shot from his assassination attempt, he didn't see any meaningful gains with respect to favorability. Why? Because he's just eminently unlikable. The vice president, on the other hand, and Governor Walz, they have greater potential. Now, the real question is, will they actualize that potential? Will they rally that base? Maybe, maybe not. But they can. And if they do, if both sides maximize their potential, maximize their eligible voter turnout, Harris and Walz will win and win comfortably. So that should make Donald Trump, J.D. Vance, and MAGA Republicans like those on the Fox News very, very nervous. Masterclass performance by Jessica Tarlov, per usual. I love that she's bringing the sass and the fire and the fact checks and the fact that her co-host cannot handle it at all. Let's delight in their despair. And in the meantime, let me know what you think in the comments.